What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of U for Your Eternity Season 3. This is episode 17. With me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yeah, so well, of course, the show has been on break for an entire month, due to the Olympics. Though I don't know if that was a good explanation because a couple other shows we watched, like Jujutsu Kaisen, have only been on break for at least a week, while this show has been off for an entire month. But anyway, um, we go back to where the last episode left off with Fushi trying to convince Mizuha to, to try to come back to them in a way, but of course her knocker is of course taking over her entire body, and then of course pretty much espousing her plan or whatever its plan to uh, I guess obtain its own form of peace in a way. So the
Mm.
knocker like shows this by showing like what's happening at at the school, where the knocker sends like I guess like a knocker controlled corpse of Fushi's, like one of Fushi's bodies anyway, to the school, and then all of a sudden the entire school gets into the gymnasium for like this assembly, but like the water sprinkler system like goes off, and like everyone in that vicinity gets soaked. But it turns out that uh, the water sprinkler system had tiny microscopic knockers which got into people and then ended up knocking everybody out. So everyone other than Tanari and a handful of students um, are the only ones you know are still up and about, while they're being pursued by this this false Fushi clone of like being controlled by a knocker chasing after them.
Yeah. Yeah, they all have to work together to try to stop this, like, knocker controlled Fushi, and every time they inflict, like, major damage on him, he just ends up regenerating, getting back up, and going after them again.
Yeah, and there was one point where they almost like tried burning the thing to a crisp, but the fire sprinkler systems like ends up dousing that fire.
Yeah.
So yeah, so now they're they're trying to resort to any means necessary to try to kill this thing, including like using all the weapons that Fushi left to them. I don't know if that's something intentional that he did, or maybe he just did it by accident. I think he just did it intentionally, to be honest. Maybe just in preparation for something like this to happen conveniently. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, we go back to what back into the underground cavern in which Fushi is trying to convince the Knocker Mizuha to stop what it's doing, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I think Mizuha's dad ends up killing himself, which leads an opening for Fushi to take advantage of the situation by I guess forming what was it, various different objects in the room using his vines, and then I think Mizuha's mother, uh, ever since what happened to her father, like she falls down like a pit, and then Mizuha almost
Yeah, I think it was because, like, her father fell down there, so she just, like, jumps in after him.
yeah, and then and then Mizuha like almost falls down, but then like her friends try to save her at the last minute, but to no avail. She ends up falling down to the pit and hitting the floor. Uh, and
Yeah.
then and then of course like we see Mizuha like pretty much on death's door. We see her interacting with all of her other descendants in the afterlife, and then her holding which I would assume is her and Fushi's child, if that's if things went
Oh,
through.
okay. So I don't really. Okay, so I don't really understand, like, what. Like, it just seems like Mizuha just had ultimately it just had no point, as as for the most part. Like, her character arc just seems to have gone nowhere. Like, it goes to her just almost just succumbing to the same fate that all the other Hayase descendants seem to have, is that they're just gonna die. They go crazy and they die, and that's pretty much what happened here. Is that she fell to her death, and it seemed like Fushi was going to save her, but then she falls, and she falls and dies. And yeah, like you said, she has this vision of her and Fushi having a child, which just does not happen, of course. But
Yeah, and
Fushi ends up like trying to carry her body out of there.
yeah,
Um,
supposedly he says like let's meet again in another life or something like that. Which
yeah,
I don't know
I just
if he intends to bring her back in a way, but it's not really clear. But he's never brought back any of the old um Hayase descendants in any form or
I
matter
yeah, I just thought like maybe in this story arc, like maybe it would be kind of different. Like maybe her character would go down a different path, and there were some differences, but ultimately just ends up at the same conclusion it seems as every other descendant of Hayase.
Yeah, and then of course Mizuha's father, who's well, pretty much he's a corpse being controlled by the Knocker now, and then he tries several different ways to try to stop Fushi from taking Mizuha's body away. Even like Mizuha's grandfather tries to stop him, but he gets shot. Um,
Yeah,
and and so like
yeah, he just ends up shooting everybody. Like it's just kind of hilarious how he just had no hesitation, just constant. I mean, of course, Fushi can come back from it, but just like at one point, he shoots him point blank at the back of the head. Um, but but then Fushi reforms himself into other like the other people he's or other forms, and tries to get basically like get Mizuha out of there,
yeah,
or
so
Mizuha's corpse, I guess.
yeah, so he uses his his fine ability to basically get everyone out to safety, and that's of course where we leave off on the episode in which like Tanari and the others are still trying to fight against this Fushi knocker, while Fushi and the others are trying to escape from the underground cavern, from from the
Yeah.
knocker board.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I guess, like, I don't know. I was just kind of disappointed in, like, what happened, like I mentioned with Mizuha. I mean, I thought, maybe they would go a different direction with her and maybe there would be some different outcome with her character, but yeah, it just seems like the same thing ends up happening. I mean, I guess there's still a possibility that something else could happen with her, but I kind of doubt it at this point. It seems like for the most part, like Fushi's is going to try to like carry her corpse out of there, maybe to give her a proper burial or something, and that's probably just going to be about it. But I mean, it was interesting to see the other Fushi being controlled by the Knockers and how they all have to band together to try to stop him. And it was interesting to see like just this like I guess like sort of evil version of Fushi where they all have to try to fend him off. But yeah, other than that, like I don't know, is I guess mixed feelings. Like it wasn't a bad episode, but it's just we finally I guess got to see the I guess whatever the conclusion of Mizuha's character arc, which just seems, in my opinion, just seems mostly pointless. Like it just doesn't seem like there was much he really ended up doing in terms of her character being like where her character went. She just kind of ended up succumbing to the same insanity that every other Hayase version of Hayase, ends up succumbing to. But I don't know. I don't really have much else to say about the episode, though. I don't know if you have anything else to say.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping things would go down a little bit more differently with Mizuha, but yeah, like you said, she's just she unfortunately just suffers the same fate as all of her other ancestors, and wanting to be with Fushi and then like just die a tragic death. I mean, we don't know like if there are any more descendants after this, so it's really
I
unclear.
wouldn't be surprised at this point because it just seems like they end up doing the same thing in each time where there's a different version of Hayase that shows up.
Yeah,
So
I mean, we remember
yeah.
like Kahaku ended up dying, and he never had any children to speak of. But then we have like I guess you could say like there are various branches of different descendants all around that we're not aware
And
of.
they all have the same objective to get with Fushi, but of course, it never ends up working out. And I was like, what I was wondering, I was like thinking maybe this one will be the one to be maybe this one will be different. Maybe she won't be totally insane, or maybe Fushi will be able to save her, and maybe like she might end up living or something. And maybe not. It wouldn't. It may or may not go down a romantic path, but maybe she might actually end up living. But no, she dies, and nothing really comes of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little bit disappointing, honestly. But yeah. So that all being said, guys, until next time, we will see you all later.